Ah, yes, thank you very much. Okie
Yeah.
dokie. In your own time, Mr. Darren Bach Blasus Yaw.
I am Blasus.
You are.
Yes.
Especially your head cheese.
My head cheese?
Yeah.
Oh, that head.
Yes.
Yeah, keep that in.
The important.
Anyway, yeah, that's it. Yeah, keep, just for our fundamentalist Christian viewers, just start them off on the right foot. Anyway, right, welcome to the YCHYFUS Kung Fu podcast with me, Darren Jones, and him over there.
Clive Davis, hello.
Hello, hello. So what do we do on the YCHYFUS Kung Fu podcast? We have a look at some Kung Fu films of the old school variety, usually, which tends to span, early 70s to mid 80s. And today we are back on Mr. Robert Tai.
Yes. In fact, it's a quartet.
Oh, fucking hell.
See what I did there?
Actually, I did post on my Facebook about a couple of weeks ago because I was quite excited about watching one of the films again. And I posted the intro to one of the films, and I made an even worse pun than that. I said to my Facebook viewers, of which I'm sure I've got about 4, here's a little hint about what the next podcast is going to be about. Just Tai give you a flavour.
Oh fuck! That's
bad, isn't it?
That's not even a pun or a play on words.
Well, it kind of was, because sometimes if you're Irish, which obviously neither of us are, sometimes you say tay instead of two.
We need Nick on.
Exactly, we should have had Nick on.
Yes.
Nick would get a kick out of these.
Just tay.
Do you see what I mean?
Is it though?
Yeah, kind of. Well, not really. Not really. Anyway,
we are both guilty, basically. Neither of us.
We are.
Yes.
No. So anyway, so it's 4 films today. We've got Devil Killer. No, I'm not going to say the years because we're going to get into the weeds on that in a bit. We've got Devil Killer, which is his first directorial joint that we know of. We've got Shaolin versus Ninja. We've got Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu and Ninja versus Shaolin Guards, or Guards of Shaolin.
Yes. A quartet, as I said.
A quartet of Tai.
Tai give you today. Friday.
Right, so I'll tell you what, why don't we get into the weeds of when these films were directed, right? And as a prefix, right, the dates of these films, particularly Shaolin versus Ninja, is kind of there's a crux to this, because Robert Tai always used to say that Ching Siu Dong nicked all of his cool wire work. Right. And because obviously Due to the Death, which is Ching Siu Tong's magnum opus as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
But also is the film that Robert Tai accuses him of ripping off his techniques and his wire work.
But of course, as much as we love Robert Tai, it is a little bit like Trauma being angry that Street Trash is a better version of a trauma film than a trauma film. Do you know what I mean? Because Duel to the Death, of course, is...
But if Street Trash came out before The Toxic Avenger, which I think it didn't.
No.
Street Trash is about 88.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, how dare you steal all my ideas and kind of make them a little bit better.
Yeah. No, but I think the prevailing view is that, maybe Robert Tai's bullshitting, maybe Robert Tai's, embellishing.
Right, but this puts it into
but exactly. So if we can reliably show that specifically Shaolin versus Ninja was directed before Duel to the Death, then there is something in some of the techniques that you see in there, particularly the wire work, flying off stuff, then there is something to it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that pops out when we get there as well is Ninja the Dragon's Den. Is that 82?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Right. And Ninja of Shaolin Guards, because obviously the duel to the death is the famous example, but this time I don't think I've ever put this together before, but watching these this time, I was thinking how much Ninja and the Dragon's Den might actually be indebted to Robert Tai.
Thematically as well.
Mm.
Because my memory, funny enough, my memory of Shaolin versus Ninja specifically, I think got a little bit conflated with all of the other films we're watching, actually.
Yes.
And in my mind, before I watched it, it was evil ninjas versus good Shaolin. And it's the film's actually nothing like that. No,
it was actually quite interesting as well to go back and watch these again, I have to say, because it did clarify a lot. And also, the one general takeaway, and this is not a negative thing, was I think because we were steered early on by Toby's love of Robert Tai, and very much kind of fans of the underdog and all that, and of course, again, getting confused between the films he actually directed and had control over versus the amazing action choreography he did in other people's films. I think the one thing that jumped out is he's not necessarily the best overall film director in the world.
No, he's not. No, he's not a good filmmaker. I mean, I think you can, I think you can say that. And that's his lack of restraint, isn't it?
Yeah. But the action is
that's the irony, isn't it? But that's also the irony. Robert Tai's got the longest fights anywhere. And also arguably the most intricate fights.
Yeah.
And the most sort of, in terms of wire work specifically, the most technically, the most technically adept of the period.
Right.
You would say in the early 80s. But and that's due to his lack of restraint. But when you actually give him control of a film to have a tight storyline, then on occasion he goes off piece, doesn't he?
I think the phrase we're looking for, and this will lead us into Devil Killer, because I think this is I think the phrase might be an embarrassment of riches, right? So with that, shall we kick off with Devil Killer then?
Yes.
Or as it's known in some places, Ninja Exterminators.
Yeah, that very accurate title.
Right. So the way I understand this is that it's, well, interestingly, because Filmark put this out at some point, even though it's not a Filmark production, but that's kind of ironic, considering the type of films that Filmark later became famous. Because this is a very early example of a cut and paste film, isn't it?
Yeah. Which I've got to say, it's not a bad job at doing a cut and paste.
I agree. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily coherent, but it just means that the lack of coherency has less to do with the mixing together footage, other than just it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah,
like I don't think it'd be even less of a mess if you saw so the source film for this is something called The Best and the Worst, right?
Yeah.
This is from 1974, directed by Wang Hung Chang, and choreography by one of the co-stars of the film, Blackie Ko.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because he doesn't. We think of Blackie Ko is known as basically as being a stunt driver,
car stunting. Yeah.
And apparently, in Hong Kong and China, he's like the evil Knievel, right? Like jumped over the Great Wall and tried to jump the Yellow River and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see. Well, number one, seeing him in a relatively big role. You don't really see.
Yeah. No. He's usually side dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he does the stunts and then shows his face every now and again.
Yeah.
And to have him do the choreo, I mean, we've talked about this before, right? The futility to a certain extent of trying to be too, trying to pin down exactly who's credited, who did what in Hong Kong cinema is a bit of a fool's errand, really, isn't it?
Because, yeah.
So yeah, who knows what he did without credit on all manner of
films. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So it's him, and so yeah, and the original film has Tong Lung, right, as the other star.
Yeah.
Who in real life is the brother of Alexander Low Ray.
Yeah.
And Alexander Low Ray is the star of the new footage that Robert Tai directed and choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, playing the brother of the character, Tong Lung's character, who basically dies halfway through the film.
Yeah.
And then he turns up to investigate. And the story is basically, it's one of mistaken, it's framing, actually. Blackie Co's been framed for rape and murder, which has been done by the real bad guys. And then a series of either Tong Lung or then Alexander Low Ray. And is it? No.
No, I've got this. Hang on. I think it's Lee Xiao Ming.
Yes.
Yeah, Lee Xiao Ming.
He's the other kind of detective-y character, right?
So it's basically, isn't it? So it's basically Alexander Low or Tong Lung is Zhong Liu, and and Lee Xiao Ming is Wong Tao, right? That's the sort of relationship. So they first meet, and then there's a bit of a fracas, and then one of them turns out to be a policeman, and then the other one's seeking vengeance, and it's that sort of it turns into that sort of buddy cop at the end.
The interesting coincidence here is Lee Xiao Ming was the surrogate Jackie Chan in Jackie and Bruce to the Rescue.
Yes. Yeah, I caught that. Yeah, he's not in a lot at all, is he?
No, the same year. But what's interesting about that is Jackie and Bruce to the Rescue, he's Jackie.
Yeah.
So the Bruce in it is played by Kim Tai-jong, who also went by the name of Tong Lung.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't catch that.
Yeah. And he's the guy who plays Bruce in No Retreat, No Surrender, the ghost of Bruce Lee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't quite spotted that. Yeah.
In Tower of Death as well.
Yeah. No, I saw him in Tower of Death.
About one day, right?
That's coming. That's coming. Yeah. So essentially, we're reviewing two films here, aren't we? And it's a shame, actually. I did have a little look for the best and the worst, because I was considering actually watching it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it
anywhere. It's nowhere. It's nowhere.
So we should also mention
that
one cast member who bridges the two films, right? Yi Yan, who I think is like the father of the rich.
Yeah, he's like the mayor type character, the less evil mayor.
Yeah, so he came back for the 81, 80, 79, whatever. Well, I think we're saying 1980.
It's about 80. 80.
Oh, 1980. Okay.
Well, we need to get that list of production dates, don't we?
Yeah. Yes. Well,
for the next one, anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he said. Yeah. I think he said 80, 81. Sorry, we should say. So this is when Toby Russell was interviewed by Na Na Land. He had a set of dates for the Robert Tai stuff, which was quite different from the official ones that you find anywhere else. But he's pretty sure about them, and we tend to side with Toby on this one, don't we? We believe.
Always. Yeah.
So and then the other major one in the new footage, I suppose, is Alan Choi turns up as a villain. As well. Yeah.
I like him as a villain.
He's wears a cape.
Yeah. Villains in capes, always good.
Yeah, always like to see a villain in a cape.
Yeah.
So right. I mean, I suppose the thing to say about this is it's got a shitload of action, right?
Yeah.
A
Yeah, and
shitload of really good action. And I would even say some people they say, well, you can tell the difference between the old action because the old one's kind of in somewhat basher territory. But
yeah,
I don't know if it's fairly well integrated, I think. It doesn't look like night and day to me. Like the choreography in the original looks pretty good as well.
it does. Yeah,
It's not up to 1980 Robert Tai's standard.
yeah.
But it's.
I mean,
I didn't find it jarring.
no, not at all. I mean, you are kidding yourself though if you can't tell the difference between the bits Robert Tai did and Blackie Cole did, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You can definitely tell them apart, just on a stylistic basis.
Yeah, but what I mean is, it seems more like I wouldn't be surprised if it was done by the same person and they just changed styles as opposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be but I think that would be a strange choice in any film. Yeah.
If you were to watch Devil Killer and you had no idea that it was made of two different films, I'm not sure if I could spot. Like, it's not as easy as cut from, shot in Thailand drama and then there's some ninjas behind a hedge looking at those. It's not.
Yeah.
No.
I somewhat disagree with you on that. Simply because, and maybe it's just us. Maybe it's just our immersion in Robert Tai and this style of Taiwanese choreography. But we can spot that shit a mile off. Simply because of our own immersion in it.
Yes, that's true. But I think that would just lead me to, if I was going totally blind, that would just lead me to think, oh, this must be a Taiwanese film, as opposed to it was pieced together from two different. Because the best and the worst is Taiwanese as well, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a moot point. That is what it is. It's and there's a shitload of fighting and very, very good fighting. And I enjoyed watching this film a great deal a second time. But it's definitely one for the Fu fanatic, I think. This is not for your regular viewer. It's not a gateway drug, this one. It's too much, really. It's too much.
Yeah. You don't start your, this is not the first basher you watch, and neither is it the first Taiwanese madness that you watch either.
Right.
This is for you to look back to after you've seen, if you were gonna take a recommendation, right, and you've never seen a Robert Tai film before, and you want to go and get into Robert Tai based on what we're interviewing here, then this is the fourth film you watch.
Yeah, I think it's Ninja vs. Shaolin Guards is probably the best.
For sure. That's the gateway drug. That's the gateway drug. Yeah. And
it's interesting that the way Toby tells it in that interview as well, because obviously he'd been seeing Kung Fu for years before. But when he saw it, he immediately fell in love with Robert. I'm going to go and work with Robert Tai because that bloke's mad, right? Is what he says.
Yeah.
And he'd seen. I think he'd said he wasn't aware that he'd done the Venom stuff at that point, but he had. So he'd choreographed Alexander Lorey in Incredible Kung Fu Mission, for example.
Yeah.
And he'd done Secret Rivals 3, and so But obviously at that point, Toby was already obsessed with Kung Fu, so Devil Killer came along. But I think if you're not already fully immersed, Devil Killer, it's even though it's not a classic by any means, in a way, it's pearls before swine if you're not ready for it, do you think?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Because the stuff he's doing, the choreography that Robert Tai is doing, you can see what he's going to turn into, right? You can see, because obviously he's doing a certain style at Shaw Brothers, right? And he's doing a certain style at the other Taiwanese productions that he's involved in as choreographer. But this one, you've got the appearing and disappearing ninjas, except they're not ninjas, right? You've got the wire work, which isn't necessarily present in the other stuff that he's
they're not ninjas, they're ninja exterminators as well.
Ah, there we are. See, yes. So, but yeah, you can totally see you know, you can totally see the germ, you know, the little zygote of Ninja Final Duel in this.
Good Doctor Who villains, them zygotes.
Zygotes, Doctor Who and the Zygotes, yes. Yeah, I just fancy getting zygote in there.
No, it's good. I like it. I like that word as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, the one thing that kind of surprises me about this film a little bit, I suppose, is when you see all that creativity and like, yeah, it's kind of extraordinary. You do have to wonder, why didn't they just make a feature film? I'm not quite sure why they went this torturous route of getting footage from the best and the worst, and then adding. It seems to me like there's more than enough here for an entire film, right?
Yeah. Well, it could be a budgetary thing, couldn't it?
Well, it's because the thing is, right, he's working for Chang Che, right? So it's not as if he's like, I understand if you're a nobody in the industry, but this is clearly a well-respected industry veteran.
Yeah.
He could have just done a feature film for his directorial debut, right? So I wonder what the story behind that is. I wonder why it ended up this being, because it is an odd film to be your directorial debut, especially when you're, you know, over a decade in and everyone knows who you are, who can.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yes, yeah. To be continued on that one, I think. Yeah, it is a funny one. Yeah, especially as he's already immersed himself in other people's films in Taiwan, you know, in that territory.
Yeah. Well, not even just other people's films. I mean, you know, fucking Chang Che lets you direct portions of his huge Shaw production. It's like,
well, yeah, but you know, we don't know how much of that was public knowledge at the time, because there is this notion.
No, I know, but
from Robert Tai.
Insiders,
of course, yeah.
Like, you'd think he could have gone along to Sir Run or something and said, "Give us a few quid," or, you know, whoever.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. We didn't, and he got turned down. You know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's interesting. I just thought it was kind of peculiar to have gone that route. Although perversely, I quite like the fact that it's his genesis as a director.
Yeah.
We should also mention, so the version we watched as well, every now and again, cuts to more explicit footage during some sex and rape scenes, right?
Yeah.
Which are in Spanish, maybe?
I didn't even catch that, actually.
I think they are, but the quality of the footage changes as well, right?
Yeah, slightly, yeah.
But what I couldn't quite tell was if they were later inserts, which I would guess they probably, because they seem a bit too explicit for 74.
Very racy for 74, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, they really went the extra mile, because they're framed oddly, so people's faces usually aren't properly fully in frame.
Yeah.
But they cast people who more or less looked like the original performers.
Yeah.
So I also wouldn't, you know, I suspect they were added later, but I wouldn't be totally surprised if they were actually shot in 74.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of sleaziness and nudity and gratuitousness in the original, you know.
Yes, but those bits definitely push it a little. I mean, they're not that, but they just
but they're they're extended. You know? So I think there's two big rape scenes in this, and you know, they go all out with the naked breast fondling, the pulling open legs, and all that business. And it is for the, well, we don't know when it was inserted, but in terms of 1970s, it is gratuitous, and it is quite.
But it's context as well. Isn't it? Like, if it was in a pink film or a sex film, you would think anything with tape. But whenever you see stuff like this in a period kung fu film, it always jumps out as being whoa.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, it's the nearest comparison I could think of was Iron Fisted Monk, actually, that we were mentioning off air earlier.
Right.
There's a similarly gratuitous rape in Iron Fisted Monk, although this one's more gratuitous.
Yeah, it's been a while since I saw Monk, but
Yeah.
yes, I think so. And again, there it's like if it was just, you know, taken by itself, it's no bit. But it's just it's always that weird juxtaposition of a period kung fu film, and I don't know, there's something seems more contemporary and urban about tits, which is a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Or natural in the world as a bit.
Well, and the thing is as well is that so many kung fu films have rape scenes.
Yeah.
But it's usually done over the nice little red vest.
Oh yeah, you don't even see like ankles or anything, do you?
No, and that's the thing. And there's plenty of them, and there's plenty of them in Shaw Brothers. There's plenty of them in the other films. There's there's lots of it kicking about, particularly in the bashes. But this one is kind of turned up to 11, and there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
So it's and it's as a crude character development tool in a film, it works quite well to show you how fucking evil these people are.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that because there's another. It's not, again, it's an interesting example of how somehow just doing that in that context is automatically shocking. There's in Ninja vs. Shaolin Guards as well. There's a rape that clearly switches to a body double, even though there's no nudity. But it's just the fact that I don't know. It's just the fact that the thing comes off, right?
Yeah.
It already somehow seems.
Yeah.
Peculiar thing. It's a peculiar thing.
Yeah. That's because it's I think certainly to us, and I may be offending people here, which I don't intend. But I suppose for us in our Western ivory towers, watching a kung fu film, is like watching something from some fantasy zone. It's like us watching something from not even another territory, another country. It's like watching a fantasy world, right? Like a Lord of the Rings or something, or Conan the Barbarian or something like that. It's like us going into a fantasy land, fairy tale land. At least that's my kind of perception.
Yeah, but what's interesting about that is when you see stuff, nudity and stuff that done in, for instance, Conan the Barbarian, that seems very authentic in a way. In that, I think the other thing it might be as well is, often apart from their agency as fighters, sexually, a lot of women, heroines, especially in kung fu films, are quite infantilized and they're
very chaste.
No, they're always like extremely virginal, right? And they don't dress seductively or anything like that. And they're so there's I suppose there's something about someone like that having their virtue snatch just seems
Well, also, a good example of that perception, actually, I think, is that excellent scene from My Young Auntie with Cara Hoy in the dress that's the 1930s dress that's like split up the side.
Right.
And the reaction of all her sort of relatives or all the people fighting her, oh my God, you can see her legs.
Right.
That tells you the sort of society that these films are often based in. And also chivalry, right? There's not much of a gap between tales of noble kung fu masters and wuxia heroes, and tales of Sir Kay from Le Morte d'Arthur, Arthurian legend, or chivalrous, tales of the knights of old. That's an analog to what we're kind of watching in kung fu films, to my mind.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yeah, you don't get, apart from in some revisionist, in general, the classic versions, you don't get Lancelot, like, chatting up a bar wench or something like that.
No. Yeah.
Anyway, Devil Killer, I mean, like you said, not your first stop, but if you are interested in Robert Tai already, I think it's an essential part of the puzzle, isn't it? And
Yeah,
a bit of a curate's egg. I think if you're into this, it's kind of fascinating. I've seen it a couple of times now, and I can imagine watching it again as well at some point.
yeah, yeah. I would definitely go back to it.
And
Yeah,
getting a bit more out of it each time as well.
yeah. And also, you know, watching this, and particularly Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu, I'm getting a little bit of a taste for Tong Lung now.
Yeah,
I kind of like Tong Lung in what I'd seen him in before, but you know, and I quite like his big head.
you know
He's
what
always got
he
a
would.
big head, doesn't he?
You know what he would be perfectly cast as?
Yeah.
Dennis the Menace.
Fucking hell, yes, he would, wouldn't he?
That's
Stripey jumper.
for you
That head of
Americans,
his.
not your Dennis the Menace, our
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Dennis the Menace. Now we need, and I mean, if he was still alive, well, I don't know if Tong Lung, when they were both younger, Tong Lung, Dennis the Menace, Dean Sheck, Walter Softy.
Done. The other thing he would be quite good cast as
Right.
is Carry On Screaming
Ah,
as one of the monsters, because he's got that, because his head is exactly that sort of shape, isn't it?
we're in our forte now. We're in our British comics and crossover. And I just thought of another one. I can't believe we never thought this before. The Basher Street Kids.
There we are, the Basher Street Kids.
That's got to start happening immediately.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I suppose conclusions on this. Yeah, surprisingly well integrated footage. Yeah,
yeah.
The Basher, I really did get off on the Basher stuff as well.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You know,
that looks like I'd like to see the original cut.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to. Well, actually, am I imagining it, or was it actually never completed?
Oh, I don't know about that.
I did. Oh shit! I did do a little bit of research on it, and yeah, I do. It's too vague a memory. But yeah, I mean, you know, I like the bit where Tong Lung punches someone off a cliff. That's quite nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the final fight is, you know, pure Robert Tai.
Yeah,
you know, and that's you know, but there's also some little vignettes in there as well, and he's in there as well as one of the thugs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always good to see him.
Yeah, and you know, Alexander Laurie is always getting set upon in a Taiwanese field from behind some bushes by some definitely not ninjas, but
right. Ninja exterminators.
Ninja exterminator.
They come round your house if you've got a roach infestation.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, no, it's an interesting little one if you're, you know, if you've exposed yourself to enough kung fu poison.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, what's next?
Well, I think it would be Shaolin versus Ninja. So this is the one, I think, this is the one where we want to discuss dates, right? So this, according to everywhere else, this is 1983.
Yeah, no, it's definitely 81 at the latest, I think.
Yeah, 81 is what people seem to say, which places us pre Duel to the Death.
Yes, I was watching as well, just to clarify, I was watching something referred to as the extended cut.
All right.
Which was 88 minutes. I think it's the German. I
I watched the German one.
Yeah.
And it's fucking beautiful.
It's a nice looking print, and there's a few bits here and there where the quality dips. I'm assuming that's the extended stuff.
Yeah.
But there's not much. I mean, get that version just because it looks glass and all that. But there's not. I don't think there's much missing in terms of running time from.
No.
For instance, if they put it in Blu-ray and it's not extended, but it looks great, you should probably go through it.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about this, which I haven't been back to this film for probably 20 years.
Same.
And you know, in my head, it's Robert Tai.
Right.
But if you look at HKMDB, The sole choreography credit goes to Alan Choi.
Alan Choi, yeah.
Yeah. So I would be very interested to get someone to pick the bones out of this for me, because this is a very Robert Tai looking film.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess any film that Robert Tai is involved in that has action, his fingerprints are all over it, regardless of what he's actually credited with, right? I can't see him letting someone else get on with it. He's going to get involved.
Oh no, I agree. But what's the motivation for an Alan Choi sole choreography credit?
Yeah, and
is he a bigger name? Is he a bigger name in 1983?
I don't know. Or 1981.
Yeah.
We should say he's in it as well, of course.
Yeah. Doing a good job as always.
Yeah. So sorry, I just go back a little bit because I had my brainwave about Dennis the Menace. I forgot to add to your thing about being interested in Tong Lung. Yes, me too. And in terms of, so I think we know him from his doing stuff with his brother later days. But of course, Stuart comes from a cluster of films that he made without his brother in the Basher period. I'd be very interested to see them.
Yeah,
your point, I am punching people off cliffs. He's a good basher.
Yeah, because he looks like a brute. Although he chunks up a bit as do we all. He chunks up a bit in the 80s. You know, in the early 70s, he's a pretty mean looking machine, isn't he?
He's always Alexander Laurie is the pretty boy, isn't he?
Yeah.
To his brother.
Yeah, Tong Lung's the ruffian, isn't he?
Yeah.
And as such, fits quite nicely into that kind of chancing, karate kind of basher character.
Right. Yeah, so I would like to see more of that stuff, assuming it's extant and out there.
Yeah. So if we can find it, maybe we'll do a Tong Lung special.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. We'll have a go at that.
Not to get me confused with the bloke from No Retreat, No Surrender.
No. Yeah. So
you do the plot, Darren, because I've written things down. But this has gone out of my head a little bit. I can't quite get the shape.
That's all right. Yeah, no, I can get there. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna largely skip over the cast.
Okay.
We'll come back to the cast.
Okay.
But suffice to say, William Yen's in there, Yi Yan's in there, Chang Chi Ping's in there, Alan Choi obviously is in there, Alexander Laurie is obviously in there. We'll get to the cast as we come to the little points.
Well, I just wanted to add one thing, because I don't think it'll come up naturally. But
okay, go on.
The other thing in the other person who's in there is Ting-Hwa Chong, who was the little kid star of the Fantastic Magic Baby.
Oh, I hadn't clocked that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So it begins quite nicely with a voiceover that says, "The ninjas are a warlike race,
Yeah.
who want to take over China and the Shaolin Temple via the Shaolin Temple." So yeah, that's a nice little.
Yeah, well, I think throughout this
voiceover,
basically ninja and Japanese are entirely interchangeable synonyms, it seems.
I disagree.
Okay.
Actually, in this film, the ninjas and the Japanese are quite clearly demarked. Because essentially, Alan Choi is part of like a delegation of Japanese monks who have come over to Shaolin to learn and like a cultural exchange.
Right.
And they kind of at the start, there's lots of misunderstandings about, can they or can they not get into the Shaolin Temple? And they can. And there's this. Oh, hang on. No, I nearly got that wrong. Yeah, I'm getting this confused with Ninja vs Shaolin Guards. But yeah, anyway, there's some misunderstandings. They basically have this cultural exchange, but there's like this kind of fairly benevolent sort of shogunist leader kind of character, who's sending them in there. And he's got this advisor who is a secret ninja in disguise, who is sending the ninjas to basically fuck with the relationship between the Japanese monks and the Chinese monks, and trying to create disharmony so that the warlike race of ninjas can take over China and the Shaolin Temple. Which essentially leads us to lots of cool training scenes, or a few cool training scenes, including Alexander Lorey and his nice nunchucks, and what boils down to a tournament in the middle.
Yes, and we're always suckers for a tournament film.
Who doesn't like a tournament film?
And what's good about the tournament film as well is it's a whole bunch of different weapons being deployed as well.
Yeah, different weapons, different people with different weapons. Bit of comedy in there, some fart jokes during the tournament.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
are always good.
What's interesting as well is, this is clearly in some way inspired by Shaolin Challengers Ninja, aka Heroes.
Yes,
of Shaolin, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Clearly a takeoff of that to a certain extent, but a little bit more, with a little bit more teeth, because, correct me if I'm wrong, if memory serves, isn't that film like famous, like no one actually dies in that film, right?
Yeah, no one dies in, yeah. Oh, well, one person kills himself, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. But it's all, but this is a little bit more, there's some killing.
Yeah, there's a bit of slaughter in it, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, essentially, Alexander Lorey, through a few little skirmishes, ends up being in charge of Shaolin because the abbot gets killed.
Right.
Yeah. Then there's a tournament. Lots of shapes during the tournament.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Alan Choi is kind of set up to be the main antagonist to Alexander Lorey's character. Although at the end, after there's some ninja business and the Japanese leader gets killed by the evil ninja master, then it becomes kind of team up, defeat the ninjas, then duel between Alexander Lorey and Alan Choi. Alan Choi gets converted, joins Shaolin.
Right. And a bit of seppuku as well.
Bit of seppuku, yeah.
And for some bizarre reason, sonar pings on the soundtrack during the final Lorey versus Alan Choi.
Yeah.
Which you see in quite a few, more than you might imagine. Actually. I seem to remember sonar noises being on the soundtrack of Wang Yu's Deadly Silver Spear a lot.
Oh yeah.
That kind of makes a little bit of sense because there's a lot of underwater stuff.
Yeah.
But they're not even underwater here, so I don't know, because that doesn't sound like anything else, right? When you hear, you think, oh, that's sonar. There's like disguising it. So odd choice.
I don't know.
Choice.
Yes, well, maybe there was some sort of krautrock thing. Maybe there was some sort of krautrock thing that sounded a bit like from a previous film that they were trying to emulate, but they couldn't work out what the record was, but they could find some stock sounds of sonar.
Or whatever krautrock thing they dripped on that film, they forgot to take the needle off the record and it went on to the sonar part of the record.
Yeah. There's not much apart from, I suppose, the nuts and bolts of the choreography and the dating of this. So there's not really much to talk about. No.
But that's not to say that it isn't massively entertaining. It's just that it speaks for itself, right? It's like you said, the important thing about it is for a long part of its running time, it's a tournament film, and it's a very good tournament. I mean,
excellent, yeah.
Whereas this isn't quite the gateway drug that Ninja vs. Shaolin guards would be, I would still, you could set this down in front of someone.
Yeah.
A casual viewer would get on with it, I think.
I think it's the first Robert Tai film I saw. Top of my head.
I think it might be the first one I saw as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's you get a flavour of what Robert Tai is all about with this. You know, particularly choreography style, and again, it's just little snips, just little nuggets of this insane wire work he's capable of.
Yeah, well, everything's just a little bit bent and offbeat with him, isn't it? Like, it's difficult to exactly pinpoint. Sometimes it's not difficult to pinpoint because it's a fucking giant exploding ninja or something. But other than water spiders or something like that, other than those kind of things, it's always just a little bit like the other place people don't go, right?
Yeah, it's strange, but yeah, it's, I think if you acknowledge this is 81 at the outside, excuse me, then this is probably the earliest example of this specific style of choreography, and I'm talking about appear and disappearing ninjas, people flying off on wires. It's the earliest example I think you will see of that, which tells us where Ching Siu Dong got it from, which tells you that Robert Tai was probably right. And also, I mean, the thing is, it crosses over there because we had a big to-do, and we had a lot of difficulty when we were talking about 5-element ninja, right? So it's another piece of that. It's a slightly different, but it's part of that weird ninja. Because the thing is, because we grew up more or less during it or within living memory, it doesn't strike us as massively peculiar that ninjas would wear pastels and, this kind of course, But then in retrospect, and you look back and you think, oh, what a weird period of time where, number one, ninjas were everywhere. Number two, ninjas behaved like this. And culminating in classics like Ninja 3, The Domination, for example. One of my all-time favorites. But it is fascinating to try and see how far we can follow the thread back and see why on earth did this start. And clearly Robert Tai is whatever he was inspired by, because again, talking about our Ninja Final Duel episode, there was that tantalizing nugget that Toby told us about him having some Japanese manga on set that he was referring to, and we never could quite figure out what it was. But so the excavation is still, it's ongoing.
Going on.
It's like Troy, isn't it? You're never going to finish excavating Troy.
No, and so some people might argue that excavating Troy is more worthwhile than excavating early 80s ninjas. But those people, you know what you call people, Darren? Twats. That's what those people.
Twats. Twats. I don't know what you're on about.
They're wrong.
So apart from its historic value, its entertainment, it's great entertaining film.
Holds up well. I enjoyed watching this.
It's solid A to B Shaolin versus Ninjas. You don't need to know anymore.
Not a top shelf classic, but just good, solid.
In fact, I have to say, I had a less. Oh, sorry.
What happened there?
That's my alarm going off for some reason.
Right.
Sorry,
okay.
I don't know why I set an alarm for 8 o'clock when I was podcasting from.
If it was sauna noises.
I lost the thread of what I was saying there. So apart from these kind of that's what I was saying. So I did have somewhat less of an excited reaction watching this again after all this time. because I thought I would slide back into Robert Tai wall-to-wall madness.
Yeah, but it's not like that.
It's
No,
not
no,
quite.
no.
No, it's not Robert Tai madness wall-to-wall.
Plus, I think in our minds, like you were saying earlier, all these films and some of the other ones have mashed together in our consciousness to create some kind of high master work, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We might fall out over Ninja versus Shaolin Guards, because I think that's the film, but we'll get there in a minute.
All right. Well, before we get there, we have to go somewhere else first. I don't know, where's that?
Hang on. What, to Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu?
That's right, to Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu Town.
I am going to fucking die on this hill, by the way, but not before I have a piss. I'm very sorry.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I will be back in just a moment. Yeah, Diane. That was good, wasn't it? We arrived back just at the same time. Yeah, good. Right, so Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu then.
Yes, aka Revenge of the Dragon, which is just the most super generic title, and there must be loads of other Revenge of the Dragons. So I will start off this by saying, we talked about this before a little bit, like, if you're rewatching things, if you have a high opinion, it can go lower than if you have a low opinion, go higher or whatever. I think this was, of all the 4 films, this was the one that went up in my estimation the most compared to what I originally thought about it.
Identical reaction.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So let's say this is from 82 then.
Yeah, makes sense.
82, yeah. Robert Tai. This time the choreography credit going to Wang Chi Sheng.
Yeah.
Who seems to be a bit of a Tai regular. And he's got that slightly scruffy, Tash Ammanford look about him.
Yeah.
Scrawny fellow.
Yeah.
And so in this one, so shall I just do the basics of the plot? Just so
Can I highlight something beforehand? So I ended up watching a better picture quality version of this. That's cut for violence.
Oh.
Yeah. So I watched the 81-minute version. I think it's 81 minutes.
Right.
I think there's 4 or 5 minutes difference between what you may have watched.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. But it's okay because I went back and I watched the violent scenes separately.
Okay.
So that's okay. But just to highlight, if you're going out to look for this, then as far as we could see, certainly on YouTube, there are those 2 versions. So if you want good quality picture with slightly less brutality, then you go for the 81-minute version. Otherwise, if you want the whole joint, you go for I can't remember what it was. It's something like 85 or 86 minutes.
Yeah,
I think,
something like that. That's the one I watched.
Yeah.
Although I think I can't remember. This might be a different one, but there might even be a 3rd version, which was the longer version, but slightly better quality.
Okay. Oh, I must have missed that then. Yeah.
Because I seem to remember, trying to choose between a few ones, and then I think I remember finding one which was a combination of the best of both worlds, I think. But
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so in Sunset Valley, the boys and girls of Sunset Valley, they enjoy acrobatics, hanging out, and Alexander Laurie fighting a bull.
Excellent opening scene.
However, their ideal...
Hang on. Stop a minute.
All right.
Alexander Laurie, as far as we can tell, does fight an actual bull.
Yes, he does. It looks like.
So that's looks like Alexander Laurie actually wrestling a bull to the ground.
And that's definitely a bull. It's not a punch.
No, bull. That's a real, possibly drugged bull. Yeah.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah. So fair play.
Yeah. So they're in Sunset Valley, and it's lovely and pleasurable. But then the 9 devils, this bunch of bandits, I think they want to steal some gold shipment or something that's coming through, right?
Yeah, so they need the location rather than anything in the village, don't they?
Yeah, so they go there and they burn the fucking place down, pretty much.
Yeah.
And kick out all the villagers.
Yeah. A large proportion of which are children, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is not a film for if you're not. The problem I had with the first time around was the abundance of children.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first time round, my problem with it was really superficial, actually, and that was the really fucking silly looking villains with plastic looking weapons.
Yeah, but they're fun.
Yeah, I don't know why I had a problem with it.
Right.
I should never have had a problem with that, but I did. So anyway.
Well, anyway,
so just a disclaimer ahead of you.
Yes. Yeah.
There's some fucking silly looking boys in here.
Yeah. They're like one of them has got that kind of, it looks like Dr. Robotnik from Sonic the Hedgehog. That kind
Yeah.
Anyway, some monks come along to help. Damn you, Baldy! It's none of your business. But to no avail, basically. So these bandits are of course vicious, and they kill monks. And there's the abbot. So the abbot helps them out and decides to train the children. There's some harsh training, right, to strengthen their bodies. Like there's a bit when they're in cold water. Right? It's supposed to be in cold water.
Yeah.
Those kids actually do look like they're properly shivering to me.
Well, and it's that whole this, the stuff you hear about from Peking or Taiwan Opera School, right? Where they have poles, so they have suspended poles, and you've got the kids basically lying backwards, almost folded in half,
right? Just
swinging from these poles, as well as beating themselves with sticks and each other with sticks and sandbags. And so, some kids got some fucking punishment on this.
Child abuse as cultural heritage.
Yeah.
So, and also, while this is going on, there's some traveling, there's a slightly contrived, there's a conversation which goes along the lines of, oh, by the way, that famous traveling Japanese martial artist, I wonder if he'll have any trouble with the bandits or something like that. Very
Cut to traveling
Taiwanese getting into trouble with bandits. Who it's scrawny Wang Chi-shengman, and someone else as well plays his brother or something, right? And and all that, and then eventually, of course, the children and Alexander Laurie and Hilda Louis, from Horse Boxing Killer. Basically, they get their shit together and use their skills acrobatics and using bolts. It's a weird kind of it's a bit children's film foundation or Goonies, isn't it? It was a mix I wasn't keen on the first time round. But this time, because it's mixed in with some quite brutal violence,
Yeah.
some gory violence at times.
Yeah.
This time I was like, oh, okay, I'm digging this because it's such a weird mix, right?
Yeah.
Because it's almost, it's not quite, but it's almost a kid's adventure film, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and in my kind of summary notes that I always do at the end of the film, it is, what did I actually say? Lovely kids film with great kung fu. That's what I wrote.
It's an odd one. Also, pretty sure, I'm not sure which one, because I'm not good at identifying needle drops.
Yeah.
That is music from a Hammer Dracula film, isn't it? If I'm not...
I think so. Yeah.
It might even be Dracula, right? The first
one. Yeah.
Because apparently he was famous for writing scores. You could say the title of and this music did sound like Dracula.
Yeah. Dracula. Yeah. So largely, so this film, I suppose, has kind of 3 sections, right? So it's got bandit skirmishes, right, with very colourful bandits.
Sorry, we did forget to mention who turned out to be king of the bandits. He's not in it from the beginning. It's Tong Lung. A dapper Tong Lung as well, isn't it?
He's wearing a lovely little hat, and he's got some of those worry balls, hasn't he?
He'd have been good in like one of them 30s period gangster films.
Yeah. Like an Al Capone gangster, yeah. Pinstripe suit, yeah. Yeah, like Chan Sing in Vengeance. He played that. Bang on. Anyway, so it's kind of 3 sections really. So it's bandit skirmishes and village stuff, training scenes, fucking mental finale is as far as I can see this. Forgetting the Japanese scholar subplot business, right? Training scenes are strange and good because they largely center around these kids who are being abused.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like when I was saying that thing about the kids filming, the weird thing about it is not that it's a kids film, it's the fact that it kind of like a radio, it tunes into being a kids film for a while, it tunes out again.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's just,
it is,
not at the same time. It's always slightly different.
No. And there's this, I remember there's this sequence, and I think this has mostly gone out of my head, this film, in the intervening years since I've watched it. There's this, for some reason, I can't quite remember. Oh no, it's because it's to do with the Japanese scholar. They're after the Japanese scholar as well for some reason, aren't they? The bandits. Yeah. So although they've razed the village to the ground, even after they've razed the village to the ground, they're still basically want to exterminate the entire population of the village, right? Kids and all. That's the motivation of the bandits, right? And also to rescue Tong Lung, which they do in the middle. And so the villagers plus the Shaolin abbot have to continually kind of like move from settlement to settlement, so they're always kind of on the run. And there's this kind of
similar to parts of Ninja vs Shaolin Guards, isn't it? The sector.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and there's like this. It seemed kind of out of place, but I thought it was quite cute. There's this bit where they basically got to like climb a mountain, to get to their next settlement, where they can hide out. And there's this like
singing, right?
Singing. It doesn't. They don't break into song, but it's the kids start singing this nice little ditty kind of, and it just at the time it kind of seems out of place, but then as soon as you get to the grand finale,
from like a Hello Dracula film or something like that.
Exactly.
And it's funny looking back on my notes from my review originally when I watched this. Yeah, that seemed to rub me the wrong way. I thought but for this,
I enjoyed it.
I don't get it. I like
it's all right. It's nice. It's cute.
I
found it adorable.
It's all over the place, this film, but
yeah. But then at the end, there's some sort of cohesion, because at the end, you've got Tong Lung is tearing 5 different flavors of shit out of Alexander Laurie at the end,
and kids,
in a quarry.
Kids being beaten up as well, which is
yeah. Because Tong is just like fucking merciless. He's just annihilating everyone.
Grot bags would like this film.
Yes. So anyway, so then you got the kids on the little, on the little cliff of the thing, and they start singing the little song.
Yeah.
And then Alexander Lowry goes, "Oh yeah, the song," and then kicks the shit out of Tong Lung.
It's funny. That is the only thing not wrong with, but like I said, because I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it much more this time than original as well. But the one thing that I would say, that bit is a little bit like towards the end when it looks like it's all going badly, and everyone's just going to get killed by Tong Lung. When he finally figures out how to defeat him, I think I would have liked to have seen that a bit more extended. It's over a bit too quickly because it's just like
it is
snapping the crabs something or other, right? And then and then okay. It was just they overextended the peril in relation to the savior bit, right?
Yeah, it should have been more of a skirmish after he's inspired. Yeah.
Or Tong Lung like realizing, like, oh, hang on now, or and him, but you never get to see him. You never get to enjoy him panicking.
No, that's right. Yeah. So and there's not much more to it, really. I don't suppose. No,
but it's fun. Again, it's fun. It's just a blast.
Loads of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the one thing. So just because this is the thing that annoyed me on first viewing. In fact, actually, I remember probably about 5 years after I'd seen it for the first time, I remember putting it on again, and then seeing the silly fucking costumes. Just fuck it, can't be asked of this, can't be bothered with this. And I turned it off. I remember doing that. But yeah, so these characters, and these characters are straight out of the Robert Tai manual, though, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Because everyone's got to have a costume and everyone's got to have a different skill. Right, and usually, it's someone's mother on the cast that they've knitted the costumes out of fucking tin foil or something.
Well, the more I think about it and hearing about Robert Tai having that manga and stuff like that as well, I think there has to have been, and the timing would be right. There's a certain amount of back and forth between all of these kung fu films inspiring like Japanese cartoons like Dragon Ball and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
the influence coming back the other way, and all these kind of colourful villains, and they do seem very comic book, don't they?
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah, they are. I mean, it's like I was giving them kind. There's like there's one of them's got like fucking kiss makeup on,
right?
He's got a star over his eye, like Chris Freely or whatever the fuck he is at the Kiss. Ace Freely, I think. And there's like one.
Your Kiss knowledge is far beyond mine, Darren. So
I probably got it wrong anyway. And then there's another one dressed in fucking pajamas who's got a nice little mustache that looks a bit like a cowboy. And then you've got two or three big beefy fat dudes. And one of them's got pigtails, but the other one's got this big fucking mace about that big, and it's just they're all these fucking outlandish.
I do like the mace.
Yeah, you can't beat a bit of that. Yeah, it puts me. Yeah, the best film I've seen with that sort of mace in is the one I always get wrong with Samo and Dean Sheck. Not Carry On Pickpocket, By Hook or By Crook.
Oh, okay.
Where Dean Sheck gets up with those. Anyway, that's a different, which also needs to be on our list someday.
Yeah, always happy to do some Sheck.
Oh yeah. So in essence, it's like, and there's a lot of villains. Do you know? There's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Character villains in this, which I suppose, if you think, excuse me, if you think back to something like Crippled Avengers, right, that Robert Tai was definitely on.
Yeah.
And according to him, had a lot to do with. Then it's not that dissimilar, actually. If you think about all the villains that the Venoms have to go through, to get the Chen Quan Tai, not Chen Quan Tai, Chen Quan Tai and Lu Feng at the end, then I suppose you could say it's not that different.
No, but then of course we talked about this. The granddaddy, of course, is Wang Yu and One-Armed Boxer.
Of course, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
We're talking like a decade. In terms
Almost.
of
Yeah.
bringing the
Yeah.
whole comic book stuff as well.
Yeah. But also, you know, but it's an interesting mix that you can see swirling around Robert Tai's head because he famously didn't really watch films, did he?
Is that right?
Yeah. So famously, Robert Tai doesn't really watch films. He reads books, reads manga, and just prefers to come up with his own shit out of his own.
That's funny though, because you would guess that he would be someone massively clear. Like, for instance, casting, you know, the kid who was from Fantastic Magic Baby, or it screams of someone who's fucking tip top up to date with, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, all the only person's word we've got to go on this is Robert Tai's, and you know, Robert Tai is the sort of person who would prefer to say, "Oh no, I just came up with that at my own head. Not I have been studying these films and want to play for the cast."
Right.
You know,
yeah.
He's that sort of person. But yeah, so yeah, conclusions on Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu then.
What the fuck's the title mean?
Yeah, no, nothing. Nothing at all.
I don't think there's any chastity.
No.
No.
Maybe the children are chaste and they teach children Kung Fu.
At a push.
That's the closest I can get to it.
Yeah.
Closest I can get to it. But I was surprised we both had the same experience actually. That massively ramped up in.
Yeah, well, I think the first time around or something, you're kind of trying to figure out the landscape and putting things in. And then this time it's just pure enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
So, Ninja versus Shaolin Guards, aka Guards of Shaolin, aka Hero of Shaolin, 1982. Watched a nice.
Now you're fucking talking.
Yes, watched a nice widescreen print of this as well.
Yeah, German again, isn't it?
I think so. And this is a Thai South Korean co-production, I think. Safe to say. Co-directed, again going by the official. Well, so this gets, whenever Korea's involved, it gets confusing.
Yeah.
But officially, it's Robert Tai.
Yeah.
And William Cheng K.
Yeah.
Who, of course, is the man who directed the classic Calamity of Snakes.
Yeah.
Which did have Robert Tai choreography in it.
Yeah. So that makes sense, right?
Yes.
So Robert Tai obviously didn't direct Calamity of Snakes, right?
Right.
And it's not, it's around about the same period as well. Not even been done the same year.
Is like the next year, I think, Yeah,
83, I think, Calamity of Snakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it sort of, it lends the fact that they were on Calamity of Snakes together lends credence to, you know, this is not the Robert Tai joint. This is Robert Tai just choreographing.
Right. But
although he does have a shared director credit.
Yeah. However, if you go over to the Korea movie database, they have a third director in the form of Choi Dong-jun.
Okay.
Who is the author behind the previously mentioned classic Jackie and Bruce to the Rescue.
That's we're gonna have to go and fucking see that again now.
He also made the 1978 Love of the White Snake film that we talked about.
Oh yeah.
And he also directed something called Third Son of Dragon Prince, which was a film we missed out talking about when we did. Do you remember we talked about the fantasy film Zhu Long Wu and how all the sea gods?
Yeah.
I think
is it one of them?
One. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
But we didn't mention that one, I don't think. We didn't get to that for whatever reason. I think I put it later. But so it's kind of interesting. But he is credited on the Hong Kong Movie Database, but as an assistant director.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Also, the other assistant director is Kim Jong-young, who made a whole bunch of those Elton Chong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
some more Elton Chong connections because we've got what's his name?
Eagle Han. Eagle Han.
Oh, Eagle Han and Wang Ryong, Mike Wong.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And a few other names actually. But yeah, so this one starts, I guess, some monkeying about. Starts quite.
Yeah. Well, before you get onto that,
Okay.
according to HKMDB anyway, there are four choreographers.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So Robert Tai, Alexander Laurie, Lee Hai Sing, and Ye Yang.
Yes, who are both in it as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, you can. I don't know if you can see my mess of trying to figure out. Difficult to read it back. That's the problem. But
yeah.
Yeah. So.
But it's clear. But also, it's clearly this is Robert Tai, right?
Oh yeah.
As far as the action, this action is all fucking Robert Tai's, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, yeah, and
this is the gateway drug.
Yeah, right? I think so. This is overall the one that's gonna get you. I mean, it's like, so it starts off a little bit of monkeying about, comedy monkeying about. But
no, hang on, whoa, stop everything. This is right. This is a hill I'm going to die on. This is the finest opening credit sequence to any kung fu film.
Well, now this is interesting because the version I watched this time is widescreen. I picked it up because it was widescreen.
Yeah. I
don't think I had opening credits.
No, there aren't. No, but that's what I'm saying. Is you have you have the Wong Fei Hung music playing over Eagle Han kicking the shit out of the ninjas.
So, no, that's something I didn't have that. It's just a cold opening for mine. There's like no on-screen credits at all.
Oh well, no, I watched another German. It must have been another German, and it must have come off a Blu-ray or a very good, high-quality DVD.
I think you watched a different version from me.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
No. Mine was HD.
Because that's what a lot of people remember about this film is the opening where you've got and it's a mashup, isn't it? So it's a mashup of the Wong Fei Hung music from somewhere and something else that's funky that I can't quite place.
Oh yeah, I did have.
Yeah, you must have done. You must have done.
But there was no credits, is what I was saying. There was
it's just English inserted Ninja versus, or I think this version was Guards of Shaolin.
Yeah, see, that's mine was missing. So I had that scene.
Yeah,
there was no credits at all.
Well, with my one, it was just the title.
Oh, okay.
The title was just that.
I don't know if it was chopped off. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah. So the one thing. So there's a monastery. There's monks fucking about, and there's a Laurie plays someone who wants to become a monk, but he's not allowed to become a monk because he's an ancestor of some hero, and I'm assuming that's supposed to be Wong Fei Hung. Then that's why we're hearing the theme.
No, I wouldn't. I would not venture to say that's got anything to do with Wong Fei Hung. I would say that music went in there because it sounds cool.
Maybe it's just when they talk about, because they don't mention who it is or anything. But then again, the whole, I mean, you try and put this into any kind of historical fucking background, it doesn't work at all, right? There's some fucking eunuch is sent to by an emperor, and you know, Wong Fei Hung, we're talking late 19th century,
Republic Republic era, isn't it?
Yeah. So if he's an ancestor of Wong Fei Hung as well, I don't know which emperor they're talking about.
Well, Wong Fei Hung is somehow related to 10 Tigers, I think.
Yeah, but he's a tender.
That would make him Wong Fei Hung. So he's not Wong Fei Hung. Yeah.
No, I think you might be right.
Wong Fei Hung's got fuck all to do with it.
Yeah, probably. But then again, they could just have not given a shit about the historical period, because it could be set any time at all.
Yeah. Set in ninja times.
In ninja times.
Yes.
Anyway, Abbott gets killed eventually after a lot of to-do about, trying to... Yeah, there's a lot of, back and forth, and eventually they'll just fucking kill him. And there's one funny line when...
But that's a good sequence though, isn't it? Because you've got the sword bloke and the female knife fighter, haven't you?
Right.
She is a knife fighter, I think. Yes. And she kills the abbot.
This is Junuri.
I was struggling to tell the two female stars apart, I must say.
No, this one is Junuri. This is the one with the trilby.
Yes.
And this is the one who shows her tits.
That's it, exactly.
The very Ninja and the Dragon's Den moment that it blinds them. Yeah. So Junuri, who was the star of a film I've not seen, Blue Butterfly the something. And she's also in some Elton John films.
Okay.
And she wears a trilby and shows her tits here. So it did make me laugh when the eunuch first turns up. Laurie has a stupid line where, because the eunuch says something, we come with an edict from the emperor.
Yeah.
Alexander, edicts only exist in stories.
Yeah.
Quite a peculiar line.
Yeah.
But yeah, the monk, the abbot does end up getting killed, and they have to take the survivors, Alexander O'Lore and there's other monks, have to take the Golden Sutra to Tibet.
Yeah.
In order to get there, they it's a sheep herder. They go to a sheep herder to help them, but the sheep herder ends up getting killed. So the daughter, Leon Suk, who was one of the annoying monk, the lovesick monk. Yeah. She was his kind of betrothed before he became...
Yeah.
And
she wants fuck all to do with it.
It's hilarious. She's like, as soon as she says, "Oh, you baldy," as a bald man myself, I found this highly offensive. And she keeps, oddly enough, she keeps giving these googly eyes over to Alexander Lorraine because he's monk, he's got hair. But interestingly, that doesn't really... I thought she was going to really go for him, but they don't really make much of that in the end.
No.
But she certainly doesn't fancy him.
No, but it is quite funny how little fucking rope she gives him at any point.
She's fucking brutal. She's also Leon Suk. There's something about... She not exactly looks like, but there's something about her face. She really resembles this Japanese porn star who I knew once upon a time, and that was jarring to me as well. But she's good. She's good. I mean, she's hot and she's good, right?
Just going back one small step. Important plot point is after the abbot's killed, and he's only killed with the assistance of Eagle Han, who's a lower down abbot in the monk.
Yes.
Eagle Han becomes in charge of Shaolin, so he basically takes over.
Yes, he's the traitorous one who eventually will come round at the end. It's funny as well. Eagle Han is one of those guys, like the classic version of him. You think of him as the white-haired villain, right?
Yeah.
But actually, he's quite the chameleon. Like, I've seen him in a whole bunch of films, and surprising how often I don't recognize him.
Yes, definitely. The other thing about Eagle Han is he's never looked well, has he?
He looks all right.
He looks a bit, but there's always something a bit peaky about Eagle Han. Although he's in fucking amazing shape and he can do all sorts of martial arts stuff.
Yeah,
there's always something about him that looks like, he might need some more vegetables or, a lemsip or something,
Also makes me laugh that there's that whole conversation about it starts as a joke, but they start taking it quite seriously, where they're like, hey, maybe they're going to open a nunnery next door. It reminded me of that. It reminded me of that Alexis Hale joke about the Catholic high school girls' school or the Virgin Mega Store.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have this whole thing. It's funny because it's like a joke, and then after a while, one of them's like, "Hey, maybe they are going to open it."
Yeah, and I was going, "Ooh, yeah."
And then one of them
maybe we
is
should
like,
stick around for the nunnery.
and then there's a joke that clearly doesn't work in translation, which is, "Ha! I think you want to be a nun." Ha!
Yeah.
But
So basically it turns into like a chase across the country, doesn't it?
Yes, they have to get to Tibet
through some lovely landscapes as well.
In Korea.
Yeah.
And every now and again, I'm not quite sure the logistics of how these people keep getting ahead of them, but basically a bunch of villains try and take them down. There's like some people in masks and colourful outfits. A nice variety of opponents. And then of course eventually big bad Eagle Han, and Eagle Han just, we probably need to do an Eagle Han special at some point as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because he pulls that, and it's the same sort of, he's got the same skill set as Wang Zhangli. He can pull off mean and cruel without very much effort.
Right.
He's got kind of a mean face, and he can just, and he's as a fucking proper super kicker as well, isn't he?
Yeah. It's a shame in a way. I suppose it's a shame that even though we have tried to polish his tarnished reputation, that he's considered, he's that bloke doing the good bits in Elton Chong films, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas, as we've discussed before, Elton Chong is actually doing quite a lot of good bits in Elton Chong films.
Yes, Elton Chong
fucking Elton Chong
has risen in our estimation quite a bit.
Yeah. But anyway, we're back on Eagle Han in Ninja vs Shaolin Guards, and fucking hell, that end fight.
Yep.
Fucking again. The thing is, I think the thing is with reviewing Robert Tai's films, it's sometimes quite difficult because during this show we spend so much time often talking about that fight. For example, if we were talking about, say, The Prodigal Son, right, you would say, amazing fight with the flags on fire in the burning boat. Amazing end fight up the stairs where Yin Biao pushes Frankie Chan off the stairs and he lands on his back. And
like set pieces.
But all with Robert Tai, that's a given, right? You do in a Robert Tai film, you don't need to talk about the set pieces because they're all set pieces. There's set pieces everywhere,
and and as a result, they seem kind of less gimmicky. Again, this embarrassment of riches thing. You don't quite know what to mention next, right? Because it's it's a flurry of and you get so into it as well. You just get so absorbed, and there's so little time between that you don't even really put your critical hat on in terms of
you're almost punch drunk, aren't you? It's like you're punch drunk. So we not in any of these films have we really spoken about the choreography or the level of action, because it's a given, right? Robert Tai, in my opinion, makes the best action you can get. End of story, to my mind. And it has to be assumed whenever we're talking about this that approximately every 5 minutes there's going to be a fight that is worthy of an end fight in many, many lesser films.
Right. Speaking of which, we forgot to mention the penultimate villain, Ninja, does finally turn up.
Yeah.
White Ninja, isn't it? And also, not mention the haunted village of meowing, long-haired cat or something. I don't quite know what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and it was a bit unclear whether they're assassins or they are actually ghosts.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either, because as soon as they turn up, they're freaked out by that place, right? Because it's a nice location. It's just like a abandoned, wind-swept kind of temple with all these coffins on the ground, right?
Yeah, but there's like loads of coffins, isn't there? There's like 15 coffins
they move
like
around
in the courtyard.
Well.
Yeah.
So I
Very
always
good sequence.
Yeah,
Really good sequence. That
a coffin
but that would be
that could move on its own is just that's.
Oh yeah. But that scene would be quite at home in something like Encounters of the Spooky Cat.
Yeah, or Mr. Vampire or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that scene is of the quality as far as filmmaking. Forget about choreography, but as far as filmmaking goes, that scene is of the quality with any of the sort of decent vampire films of the 80s.
Yeah, if slightly impoverished because it's a Taiwanese film industry, right? So it doesn't quite have. It doesn't quite have.
No, but it pops, right? And you can't see the joint, you can't see the wires, you can't see anything.
No. Yeah. Even though I'm still not quite sure what the threat of. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're ghosts. I don't know if they're. I'm not quite sure what they are. They're meowing. I remember that.
But there's a lot of wire work in that one as well.
Yeah.
Good wire work.
Well, it seems I was trying to figure that scene out because clearly when they turn up, it's on location, right? It's not a set.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out because then when it gets dark, obviously it's a bit easier to fake these things, but I couldn't. It's done so well, I couldn't tell because you'd assume with that amount of wire work, you'd have to be in a controlled set.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure because you think about some of the shit Robert Tai pulled off on location in Ninja the Final Duel.
Well, Robert Tai is famous for. But Robert Tai. Yeah, but he pulls it off in a fucking field.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
that's what he's good at. Yeah,
it could easily just be in a field. Yes. But it's funny is that these things like that I think a lot of people don't consider. You don't consider how the fuck do you do that in a non-controlled real location environment. But when you get to thinking about it, you're like, oh fuck yeah, that's it's. I suppose because it's so propulsive as well that you don't stop to think about the history, behind it and how difficult it is.
No. But if it was crap, you'd notice it was crap.
Yeah. Yes.
If it was crap wire work, you'd say,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and I think is the thing that people miss about Robert Tai is, and you totally hit the nail on the head there, is because everything is so propulsive and wall to wall.
Right,
and because there's something every 5 minutes in a Robert Tai film, you forget to look at the technical aspects, right? Because you're just like back in your seat going, ooh, fucking hell, that's good.
Sorry to bang on about this, but it's the only phrase I can think of that fits is embarrassment of riches. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And this is my favorite Robert Tai film.
Yes, I think
if I had one. Yeah.
I think overall it's certainly the one that is the sweet spot between, because obviously there's like more outrageous, crazy stuff that you can take clips from in Ninja the Final, for example.
Yeah.
But this is the one that just has that sweet spot of it's got great action, but it's also just a really good film.
Yeah,
like a good action adventure.
Yeah,
beginning to end.
It's got proper narrative, right? Yeah. It's got either money or very good artistry behind it in terms of how it looks. So it's not a bunch of people in really cheap looking costumes flipping around on wires and doing good kung fu. It actually looks like a proper film.
Right.
Whereas you could argue something like Shaolin Chastity Kung Fu is going to automatically put people off by how the budget shows.
Yeah, look at
how the limitations of the budget show. But this is a real production. It's a real, almost lavish production.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, and that's it. And I think that this is certainly the one to watch if you've never seen a Robert Tai film before. You want to get into Robert Tai. This is the film that showcases everything in a coherent way, because there are better things, there are better individual nuggets of kung fu that Robert Tai has done than this.
Yes.
But they're stuck in often incoherent messes of films. Right? I'm thinking particularly Mafia versus Ninja and Ninja Final Duel.
Right.
There's better choreography in Ninja Final Duel, right?
Yeah.
But
or his choreography is kind of isn't, because he's just definitely the choreographer in like the Venom's films, for example. It's very much put in its place because you have the structure of the Shaw factory. It's not allowed. Very much in its place, right? Like
and he listened to Chang Che, right?
Right.
But it also sounds like he listened to William Cheung Kei in this as well. This is, I think, the most structure Robert Tai's had put on it.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, so he's not flying off on flights of fancy like he does in most of his other films, right? And for dyed-in-the-wool fans like me and you, right, we love those flights of fancy. But, you know, it does lead to 40-minute kung fu battles.
Yeah, but then again, it could just be alchemy, and Calamity of Snakes was just an out. I mean, the other William Cheung Kei film I've seen is China Heat, I think, which is a heroic bloodshed thing, which was a good example actually of that's got like every fucking character in that film flies through the air with a gun in each hand, but just not.
Well, there's Death Duel Kung Fu as well.
Huh?
No, there's Death Duel Kung Fu as well. You must have seen that.
Yeah.
John Liu and Eagle Han, yeah.
That's true. So maybe just
that's one to go back to.
Was not his forte.
But
also the other thing with that is I think it's like a mainland production as well. So who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress, and so we should also mention that this is kind of part one. We've gone into part two a little bit before, but I suppose from the next after this, the next one is which we're not going to talk about today, but is worth mentioning, is the trend continues with Shaolin against Lama, right?
Yeah.
Which is another one that's up there, right?
Yeah, and then we're getting into more I suppose you could call it like the Robert Tai diaspora.
Yeah, well, so this is something we were talking about off air a little bit. We might try and get into, but first we have to kind of figure out what it is we are getting into. But vaguely, we're talking about the Wokogen Ninja Hunter, Super Ninja, was it? Fearless Fighters of SHAOLIN. Because that's the other one as well. Yeah, sorry, forget we were talking about choreographers. I think it's Li Hai Shang, right?
Yeah, Li Hai Sing, yeah.
Yeah, he's something to do with the choreography for that with Alexander.
Yeah.
Well. And what was the Yaeyong credit? Oh yeah. Yaeyong is credited as the sole choreographer on the elusive to us thus far 1990 Taiwanese version of Mr. Vampire.
Oh yeah, with Wuko Zhen, right?
Yeah, which is another. Yeah. There's something there. Right? There's some kind of, and we might have to talk to Toby about all this because he was about for this.
Yeah.
And things like where does Sakura Killers fit in and stuff like that, right? So so to be continued.
Yeah.
But after I've taken a massive piss that I've been keeping in for about the last 20 minutes. So unless
should we wrap it up then?
Show ends in an explosion of yellow liquid, I'm afraid, which would be a good, to be fair, but it will be the last show.
You can only really do it once.
It's So yes, I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're done. But final words from me certainly. Check out Robert Tai if you haven't gone there before, and check him out via Ninja vs. Shaolin Guards, and then mop it all up after you've got your proper addiction on.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, there.
Okay. Right. Ta-da. Till next time. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da.